I'm sure it's nothing.
This might be one of the most realistic looking games I've ever played. And while that sort of statement usually comes with some sort of asterisk like it's a walking simulator or it's a game on rails, this time around I think I've stumbled into the rare case where the realism isn't just a decoration or smoke and mirrors to hide a otherwise shallow experience. It's part of what makes this game's concept actually work. So this is the gameplay demo for Subliminal, and frankly it is just a terrifyingly haunting and creepy game. It's an upcoming psychological horror game that shares a lot of the same vibes as Backrooms, impossible liminal spaces with mazes and monsters designed to break your mind and spirit. But unlike a lot of games in this genre, it doesn't rely on overtly uncanny or bizarre environments to make you feel like you're in a supernatural space. Subliminal uses its insane graphics and subtle details to mislead you into feeling like you're in a real place that ultimately isn't real. The name of the game isn't just because it sounds cool, but quite appropriate. The environmental visuals are incredible, yet intentionally wrong. Your sense of reality starts to get challenged right from the start. This basement room looks super realistic and normal. It's just a little tense feeling because it's a dimly lit basement room, the kind that triggers, your childhood terror of being alone in an unfamiliar place. Gameplay wise, this is kind of like a liminal space meets puzzle simulator or Myst-like game. Each area has some sort of environmental puzzle to complete, like plugging in a TV, flicking on a light switch, or walking down a certain hallway. You're basically set loose in the environment with no clear direction. The game just encourages you to tinker with everything until something happens. It sort of feels like an episode of Scooby-Doo where the gang's in a haunted house and somebody bumps into a sconce that opens up a secret entryway. Just about every room or area seems to have some sort of puzzle like that. Now, the setup of the game's narrative is extremely vague, that you're exploring happy memories from somebody's childhood, but there's not much more explanation for how you got into these memories, why you're there, or what you're supposed to do. You also seem to be acting out a child's memories, which means you're basically playing as a child. And all the visuals in this game completely sell into that concept. Everything feels a little bigger than it would if you were an adult character. The relative scale of some objects seems purposefully distorted. The chairs in the basement room, for example, just look way too big. The physical props at the time feel weirdly off or inappropriate for a kid's room. As an example, there's this worn out looking wooden box on the table that feels like something a kid shouldn't be playing with. Then there's other stuff like these kids' books on the ground. They're eerily similar to other books you may know of, but with strange, subtle differences. The smile on this game's version of the rainbow fish is exaggerated into an almost threatening shape. Smile is a word scattered all over the game too, with stuff like the power cable in the TV having "Don't forget to smile" printed on it. The Game Boy cartridge is titled Smile. There's even scrawlings in crayon that say Smile. There's other weird reoccurring themes where people or characters have their eyes blanked out if you see images of them. The photos behind the TV seem normal enough until you get to the one that looks like a decaying ceiling in an abandoned house. There's also this weird grime and dirt everywhere that feels extremely off-putting. Not just that the kids' parents aren't tidy, it feels worse than that. The carpets and walls all have this dark stain on them, and the playmat in the corner looks like it was practically used as a doormat. But the attention to detail that really makes this environment feel real and creepy at the same time goes beyond just textures and lighting. There's a Nerf gun that you can pick up and you can use actual darts with it that have oddly realistic physics. There's a mini fridge with letter magnets on it, and you can actually move those magnets around by pushing them into each other. There's just like a lot of what you may consider to be unnecessary details or physics abilities in this game that make the world feel far more realistic, that sells that surreal feeling even better. Now, I've mostly just shown off the first room in the game. Once you complete a puzzle, the game lets you wander throughout the rest of the basement, and the uncanny weirdness just keeps coming. There's a play table with a logo on it that reads Colt Bunnies. The hallways leading out of the room are long and winding in a unnatural way. On one of the walls, the word rot is scrawled in crayon, and there's dripping black goo oozing from the ceiling and staining the carpets with drag marks. Now, the second area to explore is an indoor water park, and at first glance, it's not nearly as uncanny as the basement, but again, there's all these little details that hint at something just being wrong with the world. The tree statues next to the height rulers for the various rides have grotesque, happy expressions, and the buttons on their word bubbles don't really work. The eyes on one of them also disappears and reappears as you progress through the rides. The walls are covered in grime. Some of the tubes for the slides look bizarrely shaped, like this one that has a giant funnel. And of course, there's the infinitely looping water slide that returns you seamlessly to the starting point. Plus, there's more of that fun black goo dripping from things. And at one point, the game even blocks you off from following one of the drag stains. Taking the big slide will end the demo, although there is a third area that you can find, but I'm not going to spoil that in this video. Now, the demo left me thoroughly impressed, completely creeped out, and frankly just wanting to play more and explore more of these crazy, realistic, but surreal environments. Luckily, it sounds like this game is going to actually launch sometime this year, which means we don't have much time left to wait for the full release. The devs haven't confirmed the release date, but it's coming on Steam. They're just waiting for their publisher to schedule the launch. The demo is pretty limited in its playtime, and it just represents a slice of the full game, which itself is only the first chapter of something the devs will expand with additional chapters after launch. But I'm impressed with what they've made so far. Hopefully they can launch with a decent amount of content. I played through the demo a handful of times, and each time I noticed another subtle change or detail that I'd missed previously. But really what sells this experience so well is that I just caught myself forgetting that I was looking at a game world at some points. The devs have just done a masterful job of leveraging realism to inject that surreal and unnerving element into the experience, and I think they've honestly crafted one of the most unsettling games that I've played in a while. Again, I think we're seeing one of the main benefits of Unreal Engine 5 empowering indie devs to make a game that looks visually like something a AAA developer might make, but they can do it in more of a bite-sized package, and this game is absolutely showing what UE5 can do, and it's incredible. It's jaw-dropping at moments. And when you feel like you truly are in a realistic environment, and then you get that creepy knock on the door only for the door to start creaking open, sure, that's a classic jump scare moment that I've seen in countless other horror video games, but in this one, it hits different because you feel like you're in this place. It feels just real enough for the horror elements to feel that much more realistic. And I can't wait to experience the full game when it eventually launches. And if you want to check out some other creepy backroom style games that I think are interesting and at least worth checking out, then take a look at this video of a game that exists entirely in an indoor pool type environment. It's exceptionally creepy. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.